Hello, my name is Chad Miller, and welcome to my dissociative identity disorder. So, in this episode, there are a few things that I want to discuss. Oh, where do I begin? Um, I've talked about seeing the show The United States of Terra, which is a fictionalized, although based on heavy research program. And I finished that, and it opened my eyes to a lot of the similar situations that I go through with DID. Um, Recently, this is kind of a hard subject to talk about. Um, my mom knows what I go through, and she has done research of her own about DID and has referred certain things to me about that she has found on the internet, and which I pay attention to, and it's sometimes it's a little bit hard to swallow because it can be so similar to what I go through. But then, yet, there are some things that I don't understand um, about certain situations. DID is different for everybody, and apparently, there are different levels of DID that people can have. Um, there are, some defining moments for which you are diagnosed, and I'm going to post this here real quick for everyone to read. I feature it in the videos, but just for clarity's sake. So, my mom being very aware of what I go through, we live an hour and a half away. So, she sees what I post online, and she offers tremendous support. And she has not had first hand experience with one of my alters as of yet. And to a huge degree, I really would prefer she didn't. It could be sometime in the past that, maybe she did and neither of us realized it. Um, but, as far as since I've been officially diagnosed, nothing has happened in front of her. So there was a time when my husband Derek was FaceTiming with my mom, and I happened to have switched into capsin. And Derek thought it would be oh, I don't want to say a good idea. He took it upon himself to introduce capsin to my mom via FaceTime. And and that's never been a discussion that we've actually ever really had, is the potential of my mom seeing me switch into somebody else. And his intention was for my mom to see it not so much live in person, and kind of ease her into it in case it happens in person. He would much rather happen it this way than, say, be at a family gathering and suddenly, Gordon or Karis, pops out, and or anybody else at that point. He didn't tell me for quite some time. And it got to the point that he did, and it made me really upset. Because I think, even though DID is not in my control, I would like to. I don't. It's the control freak in me that I would much rather say that, if it were to happen, let it happen and go on from there. But that's just not a thing. So we talked about it. I was upset. And eventually I called and talked to my mom about it, and to be frank and candid, my mom and I haven't had the greatest relationship while I was growing up. Our relationship has evolved and grown since adulthood. And my biggest thing was disappointing her. And so I told her that, we need to be just completely candid about this. Like, no holding back emotions or fear of hurting one another or anything like that. And we had a really good conversation. Tears were shed, and so yeah, so there was that, and eventually Gordon presented himself and read Derek the Riot Act about how he handled it, and that's between the two of them. Yeah, so so we've had a case with Brenda, which I've already posted about, and then I think the next biggest thing that happened was that Karis, to give a little bit of backstory, she's a destructive alter. And she figured out how to get on Facebook Live via my phone, because I have thumbprint access. And she actually addressed her part. A side caption, there hasn't been really any dressing to fit a part of whatever persona. But Karis dressed herself, went on Facebook Live, and I'll just give you a little snippet. I can't download that video to put into this, so I had to kind of videotape it from my computer. So this is a little bit of the exchange between Karis and Derek.
You don't want to know me.
Why?
Because you hate me.
Why?
Because I destroy things.
Why do you destroy things?
Because that's what I do.
Why do you feel the need to destroy things?
Because eventually everything needs to get integrated.
What does that mean to you, integrated?
Down to one.
And who's that?
Whomever it needs to be.
So it's your job to get rid of the others?
Essentially.
Okay. So if it's your job to get rid of the other alters, why do you destroy things here on the outside while you're fronting?
I think that I destroy things that represent some of the other altars that just don't need to be around.
Okay. So what do you think about me?
Aside the fact that you hate me.
Well, that's not asking you about me. That's asking you what you think I think about you.
Well, there's that, yes.
What do you think about me?
I think that you are my biggest rival.
Mm-hmm. Why is that?
It's because I am a force of destruction.
And I'm...
And you're a protector.
So there are times where it's hard for me to want to talk about what one of my alters does during the time that I'm not here. Especially if it involves Karis. Or an altar that might do something that is completely going against anything that I would do. And I'm hesitant to learn about those things. So eventually I watched the video of Karis interacting with Derek, and there are some revelations that came about watching that video that, you know, I'm not going to go into here, but it makes sense in the scheme of my system. And there are times that this disorder just floors me because of how it connects to everybody in the system, or a single part will connect to somebody in the system, or there are two parts of the system that are so connected that it relates to one aspect of trauma that I've had in my life.
Hello, my name is Ymir, and I am learning to use technology. I hope that people will come to my page and see what I do for my life.
Also, a show that my mom recommended to me that is called The Many Sides of Jane, which deals with a young mother who is going through DID, and she seems to sometimes coexist with her alters. And it in some ways I'm envious, I'm jealous of that. And in a lot of ways I'm terrified. I mean, anytime that I've switched at work, none of my alters know how to do my job. It's not like I can walk up to a table and be Jared, who is this soft-spoken southern gentleman, to a table of regulars who have known me for almost 4 years at this job. Or even Ymir, who I think would love that job, actually. Just to make it light. Sorry. If I were to become conscious, I don't, my alters don't fit so well with my own personality that I could pass myself off. I think the closest one would be Gordon. But that's still a far, far, far stretch. And so yeah, a lot of things on my mind as far as where my future with DID is going to go. My alters have lessened, not by pretty means, according to Karis. She wants to be the dominant force of the system, and what doesn't agree with her, she seems to get rid of.